Hello, good evening and welcome to SKTV. You're watching the Manipur Files. I'm Utpala Longjam, your host. Tonight's topic on the Manipur Files is Clamour for President's Rule in Manipur, former Chief Justice. Over the past 19 months, Manipur has witnessed a severe breakdown in law and order, characterized by rising violence, ethnic tensions and widespread chaos, with brief moments of peace followed by further and more violent flare-ups. Manipur faced escalating violence over the past month, prompting the government to impose an internet ban and curfews to curb unrest and prevent the spread of misinformation. While these measures aim to restore order, they have also drawn criticism for disrupting communication and daily life, highlighting the urgent need for effective conflict resolution. The conflict between the MEITEI and Kuki-Zo communities has led to violent clashes, resulting in casualties, displacement, and a growing humanitarian crisis. Despite efforts by law enforcement, the state authorities have been unable to regain control, with the police and military facing numerous challenges, such as insurgency and armed groups. This inability to restore peace and protect citizens has eroded public trust in the state's leadership, highlighting the urgent need for effective solutions. As the situation worsens, there seems to be an indication of a demand for stronger intervention, including the potential imposition of President's rule. Former Chief Justice of Manipur, Siddharth Mridul, stated that the clamor for President's rule appears to be growing in Imphal, following protests and violence after 6 women and children were abducted by armed Kuki militants in Jiribam during a clash with security forces on November 11 and were later found dead. He also said the condition in Manipur has worsened in the past year. To delve into this critical topic, I'm pleased to welcome our distinguished panelists who will provide valuable insights and diverse perspectives on this complex issue. I'd like to welcome our panelists. Our first panelist, Mr. N. IBUNGOCHOUBI, Executive Editor, Manipur Mail. Welcome to the Manipur Files.
Good evening, Utpala.
Next, we have Mr. N. BUPENDA, Advocate, Manipur High Court. Welcome to the Manipur Files, Mr. N. BUPENDA. And last but not the least, we have Mr. O. NABAKISHORE, former Chief Secretary, Manipur. Welcome to the Manipur Files, Mr. O. NABAKISHORE. Once again, a warm welcome to our 3 panelists, and we are privileged to have you join us here at the studio tonight. My opening question for this evening is for Mr. N. IBUNGOCHOUBI. What are the potential benefits and what are the challenges of implementing President's rule in Manipur?
Utpala, we have to understand what democracy means in our country first. We have elected a government for a tenure of 5 years, both in Delhi and both in Manipur. The people have given a mandate to a political party and they enjoy majority in Manipur. And we have given the mandate so that they will do proper justice, that will deliver justice, they will whatsoever the law and order is in the hands of the state government. The statement by one of the retired justices is not the first regarding the President's rule in Manipur. The former Chief of Indian Army, General Malik, also had hinted that the PR is also an option, which means it is a clear indicator that the government, both Delhi and both in Manipur, they have failed to perform their primary duty. There is no happiness in listening to people from outside critically examine what is happening at this very moment of time as PR as an option. As I was saying before the discussion, that there's a saying in English, does spec the monk. I'm happy that people of eminence, people of great eminence, whether they are from the judiciary or the executive or from the academics, they have broken their silence about Manipur. The last so-called almost 19 months have passed since May 3rd last year. Editorially, I'm happy that people from the rest of the country are talking about Manipur. They are talking about Manipur for wrong reasons in my observation. So far, not a person of eminence has spoken about the failure of administration that the people trusted
Right.
to both the political party, to this political party in Manipur. Because BJP is ruling in Delhi, of course, they do not enjoy the majority today. Earlier they did. Now they have, I think, about 240. In Manipur, they do enjoy the majority. I would have been more happy if the people of eminence from the rest of the country had spoken about the stoic silence of the Prime Minister. Why has the Prime Minister not yet
Right.
opened his remark in Manipur? And Utpala, I was highlighting the other day about the visits of the Prime Minister
Right.
for the last almost 19 months. The Prime Minister has visited the entire country, including foreign countries. Some foreign country he had gone 5 times, 7 times. He came to Assam 8 times. He had traveled the entire country, length and breadth. And when things are happening in Manipur, he is yet to at least share his concerns about Manipur. And the more tragic story about Manipur is the inefficient and so-called inactive role of the Home Minister, Union Home Minister, and of course the State Home Minister in Manipur also. Because the primary duty of a government, which I believe, which everyone knows, is to protect the life and property of every single citizen,
Yes.
which they have completely failed. And after witnessing such crimes of such great magnitude in Manipur, which nobody will condone, having to listen to people from other states that PR is an option. We are happy that people have spoken. However, I am more critical about people who are afraid of telling the truth. Telling the truth that such a thing should not have happened in Manipur. When a woman dies, when a child dies in Manipur, I think the rest of the country does not feel that the child or the woman is an Indian. I think the very, very essence of what we understand. When a person dies in Manipur, he or she or a child or anyone is an Indian. As I was giving an example the other day in a democratic country, when the Election Commission of India has to conduct an election, if there are only, suppose if there is one voter on the top of a mountain, as I was giving you an example, when there is a single voter on the top of a mountain, even if for a family, their vote, their franchise is very important. The government will spend crores of rupees so that at least that person, that citizen will be able to exercise his or her franchise in the process of democracy. Henceforth, protecting life and property of a citizen should not be bargained, and the government has to enforce every single possible means to save the life and property. This is just the beginning remark that I would like to give Utpala, because we also have a very eminent person in the today. My simple view is the silence broken by eminent people of eminence from the rest of the country, irrespective of what their comments are. We are happy, but they are breaking the silence for a wrong reason. And I would be happy if they start telling the truth, which they know, so that the rest of the country, in fact, the rest of the world will start listening. When we speak from Manipur, people would always look at so-called slanted view or a biased view. So because I belong to a community, I'm from Manipur, whenever we speak, people would view from that perspective of first being from the state and secondly from belonging from a particular community. So when people of great eminence from the rest of the country, from judiciary, from the executive, from the academics, when they begin to speak about the concerns of Manipur, I think I should urge, I should request them to call spade a spade. And then we will have a point to discuss, rather than simply giving that this is an option for the state, because providing healthcare services to the people is important. However, when the ailment or disease becomes very serious, you need a different methodology to cure the disease, to look after the patient. However, letting this even happen for 19 months and saying it now that PR is an option, I think these are called the basic tragic ironies of our intellectuals in our state and in our country. Utpala.
Right. Thank you so much for your views, Mr. IBUNGOCHOUBI. So we do look forward to eminent people calling a spade, as Mr. N. IBUNGOCHOUBI has stated. My next question is for Mr. N. BUPENDA. The former Chief Justice of Manipur clarified that the matter before the court was solely, we're talking about last year, was solely about the state government's response to the central government's query regarding the MEITEI's demand for scheduled tribe status. The judgment, which was reviewed after his appointment, did not direct anyone to grant ST status to the MEITEIs. However, this was exaggerated locally, making it seem as though the court had directed the inclusion of MEITEIs as ST, leading to unprecedented and violent reactions. Now, instead of clarifying the High Court judgment, they blamed the High Court, the government, and promoted a one-sided narrative which may have emboldened the perpetrators. Why did the centre adopt such an interpretation, Mr. N. BUPENDA?
Well, let's put the facts right. The former Chief Justice, Justice Midrul, as per the Hindu, he said that attributing the ongoing violence to the March 2023 Manipur High Court order would be far from the truth and most unfair.
Right.
So the idea is, including the former Chief Justice, who has said that the entire turmoil or the violence did not begin from that very judgment of Manipur High Court, which perhaps different sections of the populations or the different communities thought of. In the Commission of Inquiry, the MEITEI Scheduled Tribe Demand Committee or the Scheduled Tribe Demand Committee of Manipur, STDCM, has also filed an affidavit because I was their counsel.
Okay.
We have categorically stated in the submissions on affidavit stating that the demand for scheduled tribe or the judgment that came out from Manipur High Court,
Right.
that judgment did not say that grant ST to MEITEIs.
Right.
In fact, no judiciary has in power to do
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
That is the prerogative of the parliament. Even the state assembly has no role in that. The state cabinet, the government of the day, the state government has to recommend it to the center, and the center will do all the formalities, and then they will be put forward there in the parliament, and the parliament will amend the constitution, and thereby the MEITEI can become an ST, or any community can be delisted from ST or SC.
Right.
It also can be done through the parliament, and there is a constitution bench judgment already which says that such decisions are to be made not by the judiciary but
Yes.
by the executive, by the parliament in fact.
Right.
So that has become more clear. But what happens on the floor of the House? The then Union Home Minister in the last government, when there was a no confidence motion debate, he began his speech with a remark referring to this Manipur High Court judgments. And even to that extent also, the Scheduled Tribe Demand Committee of Manipur has given a letter, written letter, demanding the Home Minister, the Union Home Minister, to clarify his position that the entire turmoil did not begin from that judgment. So that is the point aside.
Right.
Now the issue is whether this very fact that the May 3rd incidents did not begin from the 2023 March judgment of the High Court, which I believe that was 27 March. I may not remember the exact date, but this very remarks of the former Chief Justice may also be taken into consideration by Commission of Inquiry headed by the former Chief Justice Ajay Lamba,
Okay.
because that has been instituted by Ministry of Home Affairs, and that very duration also has been extended. Even the Gita Mittal Committee, which was formed by the Supreme Court, the duration, the validity of the committee also has been extended by, I believe, for another 6 months. So it is, I mean, we do have some few months more. So because there has been a debate that why after this incident which has happened in Jiribam, why is there nobody is moving the Supreme Court?
Right.
But then when there is already a Justice Gita Mittal committee to look into that, because there is also a pending validity for that, for the committee to look into that, because there has the extension has already been granted by the Supreme Court. And therefore, the appropriate forum will have been first to at least go to Justice Gita Mittal committee.
Okay.
Either they possibly they must be having office in Delhi, because earlier I am told that they had an office here in Imphal. So that's the point aside. But then what our former Chief Justice has said, to my reading, I believe he did not propose or he did not support for the imposition of the President rules. What he says is, the exact word is, there's a clamor for President's rule increasing in Imphal.
Right.
Because there have been many personalities, there have been many different sections of society which are saying that no, there's a indeed there's a requirement, there's an urgent necessity for imposing President rules. But this President rule, which comes under Article 356 of the Constitution,
Right.
now there is a debate. The debate, the essential question is, should Manipur be placed under Article 356 of the Constitution by Union government or not?
Right.
That too when the Parliament is in sessions. But leaving that aside, when the Parliament is in session or not, the article, the very article, that is Article 356, can be applied in the state when when the state undergoes through a complete background of its own constitutional machinery. So, for example, we had had many occasions where Article 356 was imposed in different states at different points of time, maybe for political reasons, maybe for because they had to go through a moment when no party could form the government at that point of time. But that's a different point. But now here, we are also made to believe that there is an Article 355 which is being here in the state. But if we let's compare between this, what is happening in the states.
Right.
Whenever we talk about emergency provisions, the entire episodes of these voice for the President rules has begun from the very point that the then Chief Justice of India, of Supreme Court of India, when he observed orally that there is an absolute breakdown of constitutional machinery here in the state of Manipur. So that happened after 2 months of the turmoil. But on 8th of May 2023, the Supreme Court took cognizance of this issue, and then there was a hearing. They had so many parties on 8th of May 2023. So what happened on that day? Whosoever who became petitioners, they went to Supreme Court precisely against the impugned order of the High Court judgment. And further, many parties also came. Many parties also joined through different interlocutory applications in the Supreme Court. And then many petitioners, many respondents in different areas they have come. And now that has become a completely connected different cases. Cases on Manipur turmoil, in which Supreme Court has given so many directions in the past almost 19 months.
Right.
But for the past few months, since the Supreme Court has already formed different committees, and it is believed that those committees are looking into this matter. And also there is a Union Home Ministry of Government of India in the form of Ajay Lamba Commission of Inquiry, trying to find out what actually led to May 3rd violence.
Okay.
And that report hasn't been out as yet. So let's come to this Article 356. Well, people believe that there is an Article 355 here in the state. Some people believe no, there is no such, because there is no notification. So when there was a case that being raised in Manipur Human Rights Commission in last year, then there was a reply by the state of Manipur saying that there is no Article 355. That was on affidavit, but that is on the basis of the written document, because there has been no written communication so far as Article 355 is concerned. And in fact, in the entire country, there has been no historical example to illustrate that Article 355 was imposed in any part of the country. Even when there was a when there was a riot in Gujarat in 2002, Article 355 was not at all imposed. But then if we go into this Article 355, it does not stipulate, it does not mention the procedures how this article is to be imposed. Whereas if we read through Article 356, there is a laid down procedures that how this Article 356 is going to be imposed. So Article 355 merely says that it shall be the duty of the union to protect the state from external aggression and internal disturbance.
Okay.
So it shall be the bounden duty of the unions. That is the duty.
Right.
So for that duty, you don't need any proclamation, you don't need any written communication, you don't need any separate notification for that. It is for the duty. When the state faces external aggression and internal disturbances, but then are we in the conditions? Are we in the state of affairs that we are faced with external aggression and internal disturbance right now? External aggression has been exemplified in many ways in the form of incoming of illegal immigrants as well as refugees. Refugees who have been quoted by even a former Chief Justice.
Yes.
Refugees, illegal immigrants which have been quoted by none other than Solicitor General of India in the Supreme Court hearing. Illegal immigrants quoted by none other than the Union Home Minister on the floor of the House in Lok Sabha in no confidence motion debate. Therefore, there is an external aggression.
Yes.
How aggressive that external aggression is a matter of debate. But then, what about internal disturbance? There has been an internal disturbance. We are not in an emergency provision right now.
Okay.
But then, what about Article 19? Can anybody from here, from the valley, go to the hills? Can we go to More? Can we go to Senapati by road? That is my freedom of movement.
Yes.
That is not taking place. That means there is no freedom of mind that comes under Article 19 of the Constitution. So when the Article 19 cannot be protected, supposing tomorrow I can go to the High Court and say, no, kindly provide me to move, for me to go to these places under Article 19. But the High Court may not stop me. But the point is, can I go? That is the whole point.
Exactly.
So literally, practically speaking, Article 19 has been curtailed almost for the last more than 19 months.
Yes.
For whom? For the citizens of the country. So now let's come to Article 356. Is Article 356 required? So this Article 355 and 356, if we go back to the earlier debate of the Constituent Assembly debate, there was a debate that happened between Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and the then member Pandit Hirdenath Kunju. So these, the very questions. Now there is a phrase called that in consonance with the provisions of the constitutions. When you say constitutional breakdown, you ought to prove that the provisions there, the state government is functioning not in accordance with the provisions of the constitutions. So there is a constitutional failure.
Yes.
But what do you mean by the term constitutional failure? When there is an Article 356 in the state, that means union government is going to be the administrator. They are going to get into the shoes of the state executive. That is for what? For good governance. We are believing that once Article 356 comes here in the state, because Article 356 ought to come here because there is a bad governance, there's a misgovernance, there's a complete lawlessness, there's a complete constitutional breakdown.
Right.
Therefore, Article 356 has to come in and the union government has to come in, and with the belief that once they come in, there is now going to be a good governance. A good government. So the idea is, by the introduction or the imposition of Article 356 in the state, should we presume or assume that union government is going to ensure good government in the state or not? This question was raised by Pandit Hirdenath Kunju in the Constituent Assembly debate when this article, at that point of time in the draft constitution, it was Article 277 and 278. In fact, the position of the governor was supposedly to be elected position, but then later it was changed to be an appointed position by the president. That's how the Article 277 in the draft constitution of India became 277A, and 278 of the draft constitution now, which is now read as Article 356. In that debate, this question was asked.
Okay.
What do you mean by the constitutional breakdown? Because what is happening? Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was replying saying that these phrase, the meaning of this phrase, constitutional breakdown, these or the words like not in consonance with the provisions of the constitutions, these were discussed in the government of India in 1935. The very idea of these precedent rules, the very idea of this Article 355 that we have today has been all borrowed from the United States Constitution, from their Article 4 and Section 4. So now when this debate was going at that point of time, though Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was saying that for these phrases to be known more clearly, we ought to go back to our Government of India 1935, which everybody, I believe, he was saying that both in its de jure and de facto meaning has already been understood. And then he did not stress into that. So, had he stressed further into that, there would have been a different scenarios as far as the way how reading of Article 356 is concerned. But then, what happens after that? Dr. B.R. Ambedkar also gave a very important point. When should we have this Article 356? I mean, at that point of time, 278. So now he was suggesting that whenever there is a union government's rules over the state, just because there is a constitutional breakdown, there is a breakdown of a constitutional machinery, at that point of time he was saying, we should make it to be the last resort. Meaning, first two conditions, at least give them a warning. The union government should give them a warning that look, we are going to impose you kindly wake up and get the entire activities which are now going to be now going to be in violations of the provisions of the Constitution be curtailed. If that does not happen, if that fails, then what he says is that you give an opportunity to the people, at least to the people, to make them elect a new government. Why? And if that fails, if the people cannot form a new government, if the people cannot go to an election and elect a new government, then you bring this precedence rule. You bring the precedence rules, practically meaning it's a union government rule. And that should be the last resort. So now the point is, are we in a position to appreciate Article 356 at this point of time or not? Because we have seen there's a complete failure, both from the Government of India, as well as from the state governments. Not only from the government side, from the intelligence, from many sources. So it is a high time that we really have to debate that, do we really consider that by bringing Article 356, the integrity of Manipur can be protected without amending Article 3 of the Constitution? Do we think that by bringing Article 356 right now in the state, that means bringing the union government roles here in the state, will we be able to move freely across the state or not?
That's a big question.
That is the point.
Yes. Thank you so much for your views, Mr. N. BUPENDA. I'll come back to you. My next question for Mr. NABAKISHORE. Mizoram MP K. Vanlal Bena and Mizoram Chief Minister Lalu Doma have called for the imposition of President's rule in Manipur, a move that has been vehemently opposed by the people of Manipur. So the question is, does Mizoram's call for President's rule in Manipur reflect solidarity, or do you think it's unnecessary meddling?
Yeah, I mean, this call from Mizoram Chief Minister and Mizoram MP is in support of the Kuki community. They have some kind of ethnic ties with the Kuki people living in Manipur, and then Kuki Jo MLAs also have been demanding for President's rule in Manipur. That it is echoing the same voice. But the next question is that whether the MEITEIs are also demanding for President rules or not. This is a $1 million question. Some civil society organization, especially MEITEIs, who are very dissatisfied or disillusioned with the failure of the state government, especially the Chief Minister, sometimes they also voice their demand for President's rule. And now let us look at the this statement by our retired High Court Chief Justice Mr. Mridul, saying that there is a clamor for President rule. See, when he has worked in Manipur for about 13 months, from October 2023 till November 2024, he has seen with his own eyes what is happening in Manipur. He has also given a lot of causes which may be behind this stripe, like infiltration, poppy plantation, drug trade, etc., etc. So his views should be taken very seriously. We should not just brush it aside like any statement, because it's coming from the former retired Chief Justice, as well as the statement of the former Chief of Army Staff. They are very eminent people. Their words are very, very valuable for Manipur, and they are perhaps very well-meaning people. They want Manipur to come back to peace and normalcy and prosper again. And unfortunately, in Manipur, this word president rule is like a taboo, because nobody wants to talk about president rule in Manipur. If you talk about president rule and if you demand for president rule, you will be seen somebody as anti-MEITEI, as anti-Biren, and it's quite likely that you will be, harmed or attacked by some armed people, So even on TV debates, whenever we say something against the government and the leadership, we have been targeted, This is in public knowledge. So people are very cleverly avoiding to demand for president's rule in Manipur. Even the main civil society organizations in Manipur, they try to avoid demanding president's rule in Manipur. We don't know the reason, who is dictating them. Rather, they are putting the entire blame on the central government for this failure of maintaining law and order in Manipur. This is little complicated, and we cannot just conjecture, just assuming too many things. But the fact is that many people, especially MEITEIs, don't want to demand for president rule. If we look at the history of the president rule in Manipur, let's look at it. The last two president rule, I was working in Manipur as administrator. In 1993, when there was Kuki Naga clashes, which resulted in the death of nearly about 1,000 people, then the popularly elected government of R.K. Dorendra was dismissed and president rule was imposed in 1993. I was Director Mahout at the time, and we were working with advisor to the government. People should understand how does a president rule government function. Normally, the powers of the chief minister is shifted to the governor, and he is assisted by 2 advisors plus the chief secretary as an advisor. So he has about 3 or 4 officers to assist him, and they work in the name of governor in council. Just like the state cabinet takes a decision, governor in council take a decision on any matter regarding the administration of the state. So in such a case, the entire responsibility and the power shifts from the chief minister to the governor, and if he is experienced administrator and assisted by able advisor, we can have some kind of a trust in their capability to handle the situation. But what is happening in Manipur is that for last 19 months, the popularly elected government has completely failed. It's not able to discharge its duty as mandated by the constitution, as mandated by the rules of business. And see, what is happening is that the central government has appointed a security advisor. He is given the full power, and the state government is informally relieved of all his duties. It is indirectly a form of president rule, not completely, but the central government is abstaining from taking the full responsibility. If the president rule is imposed in Manipur, full responsibility for maintenance or governance of Manipur will lie with the central government. Perhaps for political reason or for any other reason, central government does not want to take upon itself this responsibility. In such a midst, we, all of us, people in Manipur, Naga, Kuki, and MEITEIs, all of us are suffering. But one nice thing which I would like to recall, mention, is that in yesterday's newspaper, this Mr. Rameshwar from Kairao, he has openly expressed that the Chief Minister of Manipur, Biren Singh, has failed to take along all communities along with him. It's a very nice statement, you know. You read it further, saying that he has completely failed to take the Kuki communities, Naga communities and the Meiteis, and he has openly said that as a leader, as a Chief Minister, it is imperative for him to have the confidence of the Nagas, Kukis and the all community Meiteis. Now the 10 Kuki MLAs have openly saying that they will vote against him if a no confidence motion is brought in the assembly.
Right.
So he has, Mr. Biren has already lost the confidence of the 10 Kuki MLAs.
Yes.
He has already lost the confidence of the 7 NPP MLAs. He has also most probably lost the confidence of the 19 BJP MLAs. If there is a vote of confidence on the floor of the House, it is quite possible that Mr. Biren will lose the majority support. You just add up the figures, 10 MLAs from Kuki,
Right.
7 from the NPP, that makes 17 plus 19, 36. In a House of 60, if 36 MLAs withdraw their support, will the Chief Minister can enjoy the majority support?
Right.
This is one thing. Second thing is that I was also reading an article written by one joint director of the Manipur State Legislative Assembly, Devendra Singh, about the collective responsibility of the cabinet. You know, now what is happening in Manipur is that so many cabinet ministers are against the Chief Minister Biren Singh. Mr. Khemchan, Y. Khemchan has openly come out saying that he has lost confidence in the Chief Minister. And earlier, two Kuki ministers, that lady minister as well as the Letpa Hawkip, they are against the cabinet. In such a scenario, when these three ministers are not going along with the state cabinet, that means they have lost confidence. Rather, they should be resigning. These three ministers should be resigning from Biren's ministry, you know. When they don't agree with the Chief Minister, it is their bounden duty to resign.
Right.
There are lots of cases in India's history which is mentioned in his article, when Deputy Prime Minister Morarji Desai differed with the then Prime Minister, perhaps Indira Gandhi, he resigned. And many other ministers during Jawaharlal Nehru's time and others, they also resigned, you know. When you have difference with a Prime Minister or Chief Minister, it is you are required to resign.
Right.
But so many of them do not have the courage to submit their resignation.
Right.
If they do not submit, it is the duty of the Chief Minister to write to the governor, I have lost confidence, and please relieve them, you know. The governor will approve the file and Chief Secretary will issue order saying that you are relieved from this post of cabinet minister. That is also not happening.
Right.
So Manipur case is complete failure of parliamentary democracy, complete breakdown of the constitutional machinery. There is nothing left. Only what is visible is suffering of the people.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your views. I'll come back to you again. So my next question is for Mr. IBUNGOCHOUBI. According to certain think tanks, the key contentious issues in the state are: 1, NRC, second is the scheduled tribe status for Meiteis, and third is eviction of illegal settlers. How accurate do you think this is, and how might the central government respond to the think tank's call to freeze NRC and eviction issues in Manipur?
One of the biggest tragedies, as we have been mentioning in the last couple of discussions, is the neighbors that we have. One of the neighbors that we have is Myanmar, and for the last so many decades, there had been in fact internal conflicts of. I think there are about major 27 key ethnic communities in Burma, which is Myanmar now. Of course, there are hundreds of them. They have been fighting for a long time. any conflict in our neighboring state, neighboring country, has its own impact in the so-called borderline.
Right.
I think Arunachal Pradesh shares about 500 kilometers with Myanmar. Manipur, I think about 398 kilometers.
Right.
Even Mizoram has about 500 or 20 kilometers. Nagaland has 250 kilometers. Now, in such a scenario, when there is a crisis of law and order, there is a continuous infighting in the neighboring country. One of the biggest tragedies that we face is the influx of the people who are running away from Myanmar.
Right.
Manipur should have its own internal mechanism. So, however, what I'm saying is Manipur should have its own strong internal mechanism to check the settlement or the gradual settlement of people who have come from the neighboring countries which is in conflict. I think that is the biggest issue that we are referring to.
Right.
We have been seeing the unnatural growth of villages in Manipur. We have been looking at the unnatural demographic profile in Manipur, which, whether it is NRC or whether it is the inner line permit, as I was saying, that the ILP is just a problem for people who are coming to Manipur. I thought it is not a solution. ILP is not a solution, but it is a hindrance to people who would like to visit Manipur.
Yes.
ILP will only check, is creating a problem for those people who are coming in Manipur for many reasons. People who would like to work here, people who would like to conduct business, and people who would like to work in different space, and who are not regular settlers. Now we have a team of people who would like to come from neighboring countries and would like to infiltrate and settle down. I think this is one key issue when we refer to NRC. I think, say for example, the Nagaland has its own inherent administrative structure called their own system of looking at the infiltrators, or so-called outsiders, traditionally and from the grassroots level. RIN, say for example. And Manipur, I believe, should have its own strong structure right from the SDOs, from the police OCs to the level of SPs and DCs to regularly at least administer. If you look at the unnatural growth of, say, 11 villages in a particular district to 150 in the last 5 years, it is quite unnatural.
Right.
From that perspective, I think whether we have NRC or whether we have the ILP, Manipur will continue to suffer from the infiltration from the neighboring country, which is very unfortunately. For example, we talk of Mizoram. Mizoram has its own structure. I think they will definitely not allow anyone coming, however brotherhood or the fraternity they call, and Manipur is a safe haven for our ineffective administration, to be precise. Or rather, we have a very big heart to accommodate. When our big hearts to accommodate is taken for a ride, I think that is a serious challenge that we have to see for the future. Secondly, if we talk of NRC, it is a national debate, and Manipur cannot decide on NRC very strongly. Rather than talking about NRC, Manipur government should have its own law. Manipur Assembly should enact, Manipur Assembly should pass a bill through the state cabinet and discuss about how we have a system thereby checking the unnatural growth of population, particularly from the neighboring country, which is depriving our political right, which is depriving our economic right, which is depriving every single opportunity of survival within our own state. I think that is the key issue that is also coming out in the recent couple of months today, the last. So either if you look at the statement even from the Minister of External Affairs, just when the Manipur problem started, he had a very casual remark when the Minister of External Affairs had to say that Manipur problem has people from outside.
Right.
I think even the Home Minister even had a remark, not a full statement, saying that Manipur has its own problem of people coming from outside the country. And I would always say that if that was happening in a place like Delhi or in a place like Gujarat, what this had been happening, I think the central government would have looked at this way of administration from a different angle. Discussing NRC, I suppose, is not the right time for us.
Not the right time, right?
It is. It may not be. It may be one of the reasons that we have to talk about, because we have influx from the neighboring countries.
Right.
However, we should have our own strong immune system
Right.
to protect our own indigenous people.
Absolutely.
I think that should be one key issue where we should have a little bit of commitment, a little bit of honesty from the political perspective, whether you want to be a political, so-called in the political class, or the bureaucrats.
Right.
The bureaucrats will depend on what the political masters decide. So I think we should have a strong immune system of how we protect ourselves from infiltrators. Anyone who is coming from outside, getting access to electoral roll, getting access to so-called the Aadhaar card, I think this is one of the key issues where we have to be very strong.
All right.
I think our neighboring states are very strict on electoral rolls.
Right. We are not.
Anyone in Nagaland after 1963, nobody has a right to have an electoral roll.
Okay.
Nobody has a right to buy property,
Okay.
because they have their own strong immune system to protect
Okay.
from outsiders,
Right.
and they don't have that problem. Now they're having a problem. Now Assam, for example, Assam has had the massive influx of people from Bangladesh post 1971. There is a serious democratic profile in Assam. Even the small communities like the Karbis or the Ahoms, now they are waking up as to how they can protect themselves from outsiders. When we talk of NRC in Manipur, we are talking of protecting ourselves, the
Protecting
indigenous people.
ourselves, yes,
So
absolutely.
I think we should have a very strong immune administrative system, at least, that demands honesty and commitment from our political masters.
Great point. Thank you, Mr. IBUNGOCHOUBI. Well, we're running short of time. That's the reason I had to cut you short. Okay, my next question for Mr. N. Bupenda. In Manipur, both President's Rule and AFSPA have been used in tandem at times. However, their combined use has raised significant concerns regarding human rights violations, particularly in relation to militarization of everyday life. How do political leaders and citizens of Manipur view the continued enforcement of AFSPA and the possibility of President's Rule? Can you give us your thoughts on these two laws in relation to the current situation in Manipur? Very quickly.
Well, many believe that AFSPA is a draconian act, but the Supreme Court has not termed it as unconstitutional. So there are two ways of looking at it. If you don't want, what is your stand? You want AFSPA to be repealed by the Parliament, or to get it judicially ordered as unconstitutional by the Supreme Court, or you don't want AFSPA to be imposed here in your state. So these are two ways of looking at it. So there are different people. Some want that these AFSPA should be repealed. Some want that the Supreme Court should have called it unconstitutional. And in fact, since the Supreme Court has already termed it not unconstitutional, they can still go to a higher divisions, maybe to a constitution bench. Let the constitution bench of the Supreme Court decide on it. The constitutionality of the AFSPA, which is draconian, not only draconian but also absolute. We call it draconian, but the Supreme Court, despite even making it draconian as it appears to be, or as it is to be, but that's a different point. But then it is still a constitution. Therefore the act remains. And now, then you're talking about human rights violations. Human rights violations have been happening here because there's a complete violation of Article 19 in our state since the 3rd of May 2023. What is happening to that?
Right.
So, but we have to look beyond that, because ours is a parliamentary democracy with a federal structure. That is the basic structure to our constitution. That is how our constitution was framed by our founding fathers of the constitution.
Right.
Now, before we bring Article 356, because some political parties even have demanded for a dismissal of the government. In the past also, what used to be done was the union government dismissed the state government, and for an interim period President rules was imposed for the new fresh election to be held. But that is also not taking place here in our state. So what is the option that we have right now? We cannot keep having or keep thinking that only Article 356 is going to be the solution. The solution lies with the mandate of the people. Now, if the people feel that the government is not protecting their life, their properties, then the people ought to have a new fresh elections.
Yes.
But for that, the government has to be dismissed. But who can dismiss that? The union government can only dismiss that. But the union government is also not dismissing that. In fact, the union home minister, what he has said on the floor of the house. So the point, the debate, the whole debate is, after even the Supreme Court Chief Justice has said that there is a complete constitutional failure. That happened 2 months after May.
Right.
But that means that that statement was made almost 16 months ago.
Absolutely.
So for the last 16 months, there is no effect, there is no president rules. Recently, our former Chief Justice has said there's a claim for president rules in here. But then there is no president rule. But then many people believe that. But why to take recourse only through Article 350? There are also many other articles, like we have Article 352 also for any territory of the country. That may also include the case of Manipur when there's an external aggressions. And if you say there's a violations of the constitution, of the provisions of the constitutions, the government of India may feel so. If they feel so, then they may say that the state government has violated Article 365 of the constitution, and hereby the president of India has to become cognizant of this fact. But that also appears to be not happening.
Absolutely.
So that's the whole point. So the people of our state, we would like to know where is the way out.
Yes.
The way out lies in our state assembly, because ours is a parliamentary democracy. And if the state assembly is not having its own sessions, properly having a debate on it, then where shall we go? We must go for a new fresh mandate. That is the hope that we have only in the democracy.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. BUPENDA. I'll have to move on due to time constraint. My last question, the closing question for tonight for Mr. Nabakishore. Could the war on drugs contribute to resolving the Manipur conflict, or is it further complicating the situation?
No, it's the war on drugs is further complicating the situation, because there are vested interests, and by the war of drugs, those vested interests are not allowed to carry on their business. So that is one. But my another point is that PR may not be the solution for the existing problem. Even under the PR, the governor will only act under the advice of the central government. He may not act independently. The problem is that Kuki MLAs have lost faith in the leadership of Mr. Biren and accusing him to be partisan. He is pro-MEITEI or MEITEI chief minister. So they are coming on the negotiating table is not allowed to happen, perhaps because of the Mr. Biren remaining as the chief minister. Another option is change of leadership within the BJP. Let Mr. Biren go and choose another person and try. Perhaps if that situation happens, cookies may come to the negotiating table. But even then also the solution may not come. It all depends upon the central government's decisive action, which we are yet to see. They are allowing this situation to linger on for more than 19 months. It all depends upon the motive or decision of the central government, especially the Prime Minister, to find a solution to the Manipur. Otherwise, whether PR or change of leadership will not bring solution to the Manipur problem. It all depends upon what steps are taken by the union government.
Okay, thank you so much for your views. Today's discussion covered the complexities of Manipur's ongoing crisis, focusing on the implications of President's rule and AFSPA, as well as contentious issues like NRC, eviction, and ST status for MEITEIs. The impact of war on drugs was also highlighted, emphasizing the challenges of balancing anti-drug campaigns with ethnic tensions and governance failures. The importance of fostering inclusive, unbiased approaches and engaging diverse perspectives was underscored as essential for addressing these multifaceted challenges effectively. Before we leave, I'd like to thank our panelists once again for their valuable time
Thank
and
you.
insights. Thank you. And to our viewers, thank you for watching SKTV. We hope you will join us again next Sunday for the English edition on the Manipur Files. I'm Utpala Longjam, your host, signing off. Have a good night and a great week.